Alrighty, so this week what we're going to do is we are going to take this low resolution, he ain't really that low resolution, model, bring that into Mudbox and sculpt high resolution details, paint on the model, then bake all of that to texture maps that we can then bring back into Maya and, disperse to whatever avenue you plan on, sending it off to, like Unity or what have you. In order for that to work, though, if you recall, you will remember that in order for the model to have textures on it, you need to have UVs. And so by default, because of the way that we made this in particular, if we look at this, you'll see that the UVs are muy terrible. So you can see not good. Okay. So what I'm going to do is this will probably be like 3 videos, so we'll probably do UVs, right, or these 3 sections. The UVs, this should be relatively quick. Then we'll do kind of intro to Mudbox, and then texturing in Mudbox, right? So sculpting, then texturing. So it should be kind of 3 sections. Hopefully 3 videos. I'm going to try and go through this as fast as possible because at this point you should have already taken intro and modeling techniques and probably some other classes as well in 3D. So you should know how to UV the model, but I just want to make sure we cover our bases when we do it now. So I'll probably keep the explanations to a minimum just so that I can spend more time on the other stuff because that should be more new than this. Okay. So with this dude selected, first thing I'm going to do is just do edit, delete all by type history, and that's just going to get rid of all this business. So that way it should hopefully run a little bit better. It's been running very slow. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to try and make it that I'm facing him. So I'm looking straight forward. And then I'm just going to go to UV editor. All right. So there should be this modeling UV toolkit. If it doesn't show up here, like if it's not in there, you can just go to, where are you? Tools and hide UV and show UV. If it still doesn't show up or if that's not an option, just make sure that it's on in the plugin manager. And if you scroll down, you'll see Unfold 3D. Just make sure that's checked on. After you check it on, most of the time with plugins, you don't need to restart Maya, but that one you do, or at least I've had weird things where it didn't work well afterwards. So I would restart Maya and then, carry on my wayward son. Okay. So, we got that here. First thing I need to do is basically reproject the UV. So I'm just going to go to the create section and we're just going to go ahead and do camera base, which means it's just going to take a snapshot from my current position, which is fine by me. And then we're just going to start cutting this pup up. All right. So I got object axis up here so that it's mirrored, so to make it a little bit easier. So I'm going to right click, drag up to edge, and I'm going to double click. I'm going to put seams wherever material changes. So basically from skin to shirt, right, and then from shirt to pants, and pants to skin, and skin to shoes. There should be a seam there. It just makes sense because it actually makes it easier because there should be a clear, very decisive difference between them. And I'm also going to put seams where it makes sense. So basically, just like where there's clothing has seams, I'm going to put the seams on the clothing where the seams actually would exist. And also, when I do skin and stuff, I'm trying to put the seams in the back where it's least visible. Okay, so that's basically the rules that we're trying to abide by. So first things first, I'm going to cut his head off. Feel free to take that out of context. Good. I'm going to double click that edge loop, and we're done with the create section, and I'm just going to go to cut, and we're going to cut it. Okay, I'm going to click on this tool here to select the head and pull his head off. Okay, just rip that head right off. All right, now let's go ahead and let's cut his arms off. So I'm just going to go up to edges, edge. Okay, and we will cut. And I'm going to go to the select UV shell tool and pull those off. Great. All right, next is the shirt to pants. Again, go to edges, double click. This isn't going to go all the way around because it's right here. Doesn't quite, doesn't know which way to go. Good. So now I got all the way around. Cut. Go to shell. Grab his, actually we'll grab his torso, rip that off. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and go to the pants. Again, going to go to edges, double click. I think that went all the way around, right? Yep. And we will cut and go to this and good. So now we got them cut into basically based on material. Now what we're going to do is cut for seams and such. So I guess I'll just start from the top again. So the head we're going to do a little bit differently than everything else. But basically what I want to do is this. I want to go from the center. I'm going to click on this edge loop, okay? So this one right here. Let's just do that so you can see it better. This one here, so basically where it starts. And you want to go up to where it divides. So you see how there's clearly a panel here and a panel here and the panel here, and a panel here. And what I mean is that, see how there's these 3 stars? That's basically, this is the back of the head, the top of the head, the front of the head, and this is the side of the head. Okay, so now if you don't have those perfectly lined up like that, you don't have a perfect little whatever, I don't care. But wherever you think that like if I had to go from here, that's fine too. But wherever you think that the top of the head should start, okay? So I'm going to go from here, and I'm going to hold shift and double click to the top up here, okay? Then I'm going to double click here, so it goes here. And then I'm going to double click here. So it's going to look kind of like a field goal, and then we're going to cut that. Now, yours again might not be like that, so I'm just going to show you. If yours is not like that, just go to where you think it would be. So, you know, this we'll say here. So I'm going to go here. So I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to hold shift and double click. And it's not exactly a U, but you can kind of see, oh man, where'd the other one go? All right, we'll just redo this one too. Okay, but you can see it kind of looks like a field goal, right? So we're just going to cut that, and we'll call that good too, all right? But either way, I just want it to cut around so that it cuts, you know, up the back and then around to the sides. All right, so you can get over that, hit cut, and that should be good. And then what you're going to do is go to UV, select them all. And then this is one of those things where you might want to save it, because whenever something's automated, mine will crash. So we're just going to hit unfold, and it should boom, and you can see it's nicely laid out. And if we look at our stress, you can see it's a little bit not enough in here, and there's a little bit more than it needs here, but it's not awful. Okay, so let's turn that back on. Okay, so there's the head. Let's do the shirt next. So again, if I was doing a nude, I'd probably put the seam right on the back here, because I would want to try and like minimize the number of seams. But because this is a shirt, I'm just going to literally put the seams where the shirt seams would be, right? Because obviously it started out as a flat textile. So I'm going to double click this edge loop. That one looks, oh boy. All right, that's fun. Let's double click that one, I guess. All right, so I did a bit of a spiral thing here, didn't I? That's not good. All right, so I'm just gonna kind of manually select them. So I'm just gonna go right down the line here. So that's obviously the armpit. Jeez, come on, man. Can I select you? Oh, wait, there it goes. And I'm just gonna go up and around, and then we'll say to here. So I did clearly a poor job of doing the UVs here. So we'll go around there, and this is not good. I don't know how I did that. That was not good. So we'll go from here, and then no one will see back here. We'll just lie about it. So we're going to say it looks like that, right? So obviously you're dealing with it too. Normally that edge loop should go all the way around, but I obviously did really bad topology. So I'm going to go like that. So I topologize about that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and cut. I'm going to go to this, and I'm just going to grab these sleeves, and we'll pull it off. But they're not quite done yet. So the other thing is, it kind of depends on the shirt, but most of the time they're usually right underneath, underneath of the arm. Sometimes I see them in the back. I've even seen ones where they have 2. But I'm just going to put it right underneath the arm. So I'm just going to go from here, hold shift and double click. So basically these 3 here, and I'm going to go ahead and cut those. And now I'm just going to grab these UVs, and we're going to hit unfold. And I think I might, oh, I did go far enough. Okay. And now those are now into their little spots there. Next is the shirt. So with the shirt, there's usually a front and a front and back panel. So I'm just going to go ahead and follow that same general rule. So I'm going to go from here, and I'm going to hold shift and double click to here. All right. So basically I got from there to there, and then I also got to do the top here, and I don't remember where I went to, but I have to go from the inside here, get in there. Yeah, I almost had you. There we go. And then I think I went to this outside one here. Yeah, to there. So I'm going to go there to there as well, so that it will be cut. So this one and this one, hit cut. And now I'm going to go to the UV shell tool here. And once you grab, make sure it's separated. If it's not, just make sure you cut it well. I'm just going to go ahead and unfold that. Select this one, unfold that. Good. So now we have 2 shirt panels. That's looking acceptable. Let's go ahead and do the clothes first, because they're going to be easier. Now, actually, no, let's do the arms first, because we'll just get it over with. All right, so I'm looking at this, and basically, it's going to be hard to make this work. So I usually like to just cut it at the wrists. So I'm going to cut his wrists here. So I'm going to select the, maybe we'll go here. Does that go all the way around? Yeah. So we'll go to this one. I'm going to go ahead and cut that. Okay. And we'll go to, sorry, I meant to do this. Go to the shell, pull that off. Okay. So now I have this arm, but I can't unfold it. So what we got to do is put a seam on it. And again, my skin does not have seams. So we're going to put this in the back. So I'm just going to go from here. I'm going to hold shift and double click to get this whole line. I'm going to go ahead and cut that. And then we're going to go to UVs. I'm going to select all of them and hit unfold. And voila, now we have our arms. That's looking good. Now we got to do the hands. Okay, so it might be easier just to do it over here. Let's see. So I'm going to go over here. So I need to double click to get all the way around. But you see how it goes all the way up, which is super annoying and not very helpful. But what I could do is double click it there, see where it lines up here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on it here. What's nice is when you grab the edges here, it does not go up. So that looks all pretty good, but then it loses its stuff right around here. So I think what we're going to do is, let's hit F to frame. That's actually not going to work. So I'm going to start here and come all the way around. And it does good till here, we'll say. So I'm going to go there, double click, so I get that whole edge loop up and around. And then I'm going to go here. And then click here, double click. That seems like the inside of the thumb. And then I guess we'll just go up and around. Like this. Click on this. Gonna hold, where am I? Yep, hold shift and double click to get to there. I think I went all the way. I'm not sure. I might need to snip this one too. I'm not 100% sure. I think I do. I'm gonna click on that one too. I think I have a path that's going the full all the way around. Okay. If you were to look at gloves, that's usually, the gloves are actually seams like that. Sometimes they have extra ones in here and things, but I'm not doing any of that. I used to cut all the fingers separately, which just seems dumb now, but I didn't know back then. Okay. So I'm going to go to the UV shell tool, select it. Okay, good. So you can see that they are separate. With this selected, I'm going to hit unfold. This one selected, hit unfold. Voila. Okay, so now we got the tops and the bottoms, and we've got the arms. Right, I did the arms already. Yep. Okay, so now let's do the pants. So the pants are kind of weird because if you look down at your pants now, what you're going to notice is that there's a gratuitous amount of seams for what we actually need. So there'll be a front and back panel, kind of like a shirt. So the seams will go down these sides. Let's just go ahead and do that first, and then I'll explain the other thing. So I'm going to go from here all the way to, where does that go? Can't see. Okay, to here. All right. And then also from okay, we'll go up to this one. I'm going to call this the inside seam. From here all the way to here. Good. And we'll cut those. Cut. Go to my UV tool. Okay. So pants will have seams just like that, right? So you can see it here. But if you actually look at your pants, there's usually a seam also right on the crotch line and up around the back, okay? And sometimes there's even more than that. Like some of them, they have seams here and what have you. It's kind of up to you. Quite frankly, it's gratuitous to put that seam there. That'll give me 4 islands. I don't actually need that seam. But if your character, I don't know, if you wanted to do the seam there, you could. I'm just lazy and I'm not going to bother, so I would just cut, you know, the crotch too. But I'm just going to say, forget it. I don't care that much. So I'm just going to go ahead and unfold this one. Select this guy and unfold. Good. And now we're just going to do the shoes. Now, if you look at your shoes vary widely as far as how their seams go. If you look at my shoes in the illustration, you can see there's not really any seams. It's all one big netted, or not my illustration, my photo. It's all one big netted thing. So I'm not going to do that. I am going to have to put a couple of seams. So for one, I'm going to put a seam, we'll say right where the bottom of the shoe is. So I'm just going to double click on this, hold shift, double click, double click, double click. So it goes all the way around like so. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut. So that'll give me the bottom of the foot. I'm going to go to my UV shell, pull this guy off. I'm going to grab the foot and unfold. And unfold. There it goes. Now the top of the foot, it would be able to unfold. I'll just do it so you can see, but it's not going to do a great job because see how it's attached on this back end? Makes it a little bit not that great to work with. So I'm just going to do it right here. Actually, I'm just going to double click this edge loop, hit cut, and then because watch this. If I go here, see how how there's not enough texture here because it has to combine up here, and then this has a lot of blue, so that's pretty red. But if I cut this, and now if I go ahead and unfold, you can see it's able to relieve that stress, right? So that's quite a bit better. All right, and I think that was all the pieces, right? Is anything not unfold? Great. Okay. So next I'm going to do is I just want to check the checkers and just make sure that, let's just turn this off. I'm going to turn on checkers instead by clicking on this button. And I just want to make sure that all the checkers are relatively the same size. So these are a little bit too big. So in order to make the checkers smaller, I need to give this more texture space. I'm just going to make it bigger. And then hopefully that'll give me a better idea. So I'm looking at this and looking at the head. Look how big these are and how small these are. Generally speaking, if anything, you give the head more UVs than it should have. So I'm just going to go ahead and scale that up so that the checkers become smaller. And then if there's any other ones I think that need to be bigger, I will make them bigger. The feet are a little bit small, so I'll scale that up a little bit. But generally speaking, again, with the feet, they don't really matter. The hands are a little bit small too. So I'm going to grab both these hands and just scale them up a little bit. Okay. Something like that, right? So in a perfect world, they'd all be exactly the same as far as the UV space, like all the squares would be, the checkers would appear the same. They'd all be evenly squarish, and they would all be the same size, but that's not really possible. So anyway, so we're going to call that good. Now, depending on how you're going to do this, if I was going to bring this into Photoshop and texture it in there, I would want this the UVs to be laid out in a very logical way, so I would understand how they fit in the body and make sure that things are mirrored correctly. But since we're going to be painting this in Mudbox, which allows us to do it in 3D, kind of don't care. As long as they fit in the UV space, I'm not going to be painting. I mean, actually, I will be starting to paint on them directly, but most of the painting I'm going to be doing are actually just going to be on them. It's going to be on the model, and it'll transfer over. So I'm not going to need to do that. I'm going to be painting in 3D. So I'm just going to select all of them like this, and then I'm just going to go to Arrange and Layout, and just go to Layout. All right. I'm going to also, let me see something. Expand. I must have turned off the distortion. I must have turned off the grid. So obviously this has got to fit inside this grid. So one of the things I do is after I lay it out, I will scale it down just a little bit and then manually move them around. And the reason for this, I'm going to turn off Object X here because I don't really want to do this. To have this get messed up. So I'm going to pull these little ones off. And then the reason why I do this, though, is because, come on, you want to have a little bit of a gap between everything. And the reason for that is that when you go to texture, you'll do a thing where they call like, what do they call it? It's like overpainting. So what that means is that when you paint in 3D, it doesn't paint directly to this edge. It will actually paint a little bit past the edge. And the reason for that is that if you go to smooth this, the UVs will shift a little. So I'm afraid to do this because this stupid thing is, let's just go to Object. So watch this UV, and if I poly smooth, see, it doesn't look too bad. But these actually might shift a little bit. I don't know if you could see it. The outside seemed to not shift too much. But sometimes they'll shift quite a bit. And that way, like, it makes sure that, like, if this UV moved a little bit, that it would still be painted. So I like to put a little bit of a gap there on this stuff. So let's just go ahead. I'm just going to rotate this guy around. Let's rotate you around. Just trying to make sure that there's plenty of space. Oops, come on. For everything to be all hunky-dories. Let's move you down. I wonder if I can put this guy up here instead. Let's put this guy here. Let's take this head. Put this down here. Let's rotate it doing great. Come on, I was on it, wasn't I? I don't know how to make it any more on it. I don't know how to rotate you. I'm like, come on. Don't be dumb. Rotate. Cool. Alright. Transform. Let's do it this way. Let's do it. Let's try doing, I don't know, 45. And rotate. And rotate. Okay. For whatever reason, it's not letting me rotate. And it's not... Can I move? There we go. Okay. I'll take that and move this down. And I just want to make sure there's a little bit of a gap. You obviously want to minimize the amount of space that you're wasting in your UVs. So this is actually like way more than I need. But, you know, we have a little bit of room to work with. So normally I'd want this to be way tighter. All these things should be like on top of each other. See, look at it, like shrunk this too, like more than it should have. Move that over. Move you over here. Come on, don't be like that. There we go. Okay. So just make sure there's like a gap. Make sure they're not touching the outside. It's a little closer, I'd like. Make sure it's not touching the outside or any of that other business. Just kind of lay it out, just so it's all in there, kind of nicely, evenly spread out, and you're good to go. So once that's done, you would save this. Control-Shift-S, and I'm just going to call this Human Retopo UV'd. Okay. And again, I'm going to edit, delete all by type history. And what I want to do is I'm going to bring this into Mudbox. Now, one of the things that's going to happen before I bring this into Mudbox is this. Oh, this ain't too bad. Okay, so a lot of times when you're modeling, your character it'll fit on this plane. The problem is when you do that is that those units are centimeters. So legit, you made your dude way too small. And normally it doesn't matter because everything's relative. But when you bring into sculpting programs, some of the ways that it makes the brush size and stuff is based on real world dimensions. So if for some reason you're bringing in there and you're like, man, this is sculpting weird, it's not sculpting right, what you need to do is just go back, or this might be one of the reasons, go back to Maya, scale up your model, preferably proportionately accurate to what it would be in the real world space, and then export it out and bring it back in there. Okay, so, but that looks fine. So what I'm going to do now is just select this guy. And you should have already had that window settings preferences plugin manager and OBJ is already turned on. So we're just going to go ahead and export selection. I like to turn all of these things off. Make sure you choose OBJ first. OBJ export. Turn all these dudes off. I save it right to the scenes file, and I just say Maya to Mudbox. Mudbox. And that way I know what that file is. It's my Maya to Mudbox file. And then I will hit export selection, and that'll export an OBJ. You can actually do it, depending on how you installed your software and stuff, you can actually see there's a send to Mudbox, and it sends it into a new scene. And it's really neat because when you do that, it'll actually link the two. It'll automatically open up Mudbox if that's settings on. Mudbox will open up, your model will show up, all the things will be there, you can paint it, and then you can go send back to Maya, and then it will update the scene with that. I don't like doing that, though, because... what it does is actually sending FBXs back and forth. Again, FBX is cool. But it makes like weird nodes, and I like to know what I have. And to me, this is one way of making sure the file is clean. So I like to export OBJ and bring that OBJ into Mudbox myself so that I know that it's good. Okay? So we're just going to export the OBJ, but just realize that's there. There's also a send to Unity. Again, these options might not be here. I'm not sure if they're a plugin. I know it has something to do with having it installed on your computer. So sometimes I've had it show up, and sometimes I haven't. So I don't know. But anyway, yeah. And the next one we're gonna do is we're gonna bring it in. We're gonna sculpt on this dude, and it's gonna be all hunk to the dories. Okay. So yeah, sweet.